Welcome back, family. Today we are talking about detoxing and deschooling. So, you are now a homeschooler, and the first thing you're going to be tempted to do is to go out and spend a lot of money on a curriculum and start teaching your children at home. Or, as I like to say, recreating the public school system in your house. Don't do it. Stop. Take a minute. Let's just talk. Can we talk about why that was not a good idea? Because I've done that. I did that. And it was a mess. There was a lot of crying. Me and the kid. We don't want that. That's not what we're about in this homeschool life. So let me explain what it is you need to do now that you are a footloose and fancy free homeschooling family. All right, so the first thing is detox. And you've heard this word before, I'm sure, with people who are coming off of drugs. And I'd like you to think of the public school system as a drug that you have been taking for 18 plus years, depending on how far along in your home, in your own educational journey you've gone. So I was taking that drug for 24 years, including like graduate and master's program. And then I went back and started selling the drug to a new generation of children because I was a teacher. And so my detox process lasted 2 years. Yeah, it took me 2 years to finally just deprogram my mind and get the system out of my system. And the problem with us was that while I was detoxing, my husband was not. So he didn't start his detox progress or program at the same time as me and the children did. And so that kind of led to some conflicts we'll talk about. But everybody who's going to be involved in participating in the home study program in your home is going to need to engage in detoxing. So what is detoxing? Like literally. So detoxing is a period of a time where you are allowing your mind and your body to rest for you and the children. You know, we learn routines and order from repetition. And so the repetition that you have experienced at the public school system has taught you that education needs to look one way. It needs to be done one way. And if it's not, then it's wrong. And that's not true. It's not true. Learning can happen anywhere at any time. If tomorrow you decided that you were going to try to make biscuits and you have never made biscuits before, you wouldn't just sit there and wait for the biscuit fairy to appear out of the air to teach you how to make biscuits. You'd go on Pinterest or you'd Google that thing and you would find a recipe and then you'd follow the recipe and make yourself some biscuits, right? So it's not like you have to actually be sitting at a desk and waiting for an instructor to come and stand in front of you and tell you what to do. You're not going to wait until your great Aunt Mary comes over to teach you the family biscuit recipe. You're just going to figure it out yourself. That's what learning is. Learning is self-guided. Learning is you're curious about something or you're desiring to do something or you want to do something, and then you just go figure out how to do it. And you might, ask an expert or somebody who's done it before, but you also might just do some research, right? Look it up and figure it out. That's what you would do. And in the public school system, that is not what they teach. That's not what you've learned. You've learned that you are only to learn what the teacher tells you to learn. When you learn it, you're only to do it the way she tells you to do it. If you struggled with the public school system teaching your kids this new math and then they bring it home and you're like, what the heck is butterfly math? Like, I don't know how to do butterfly math. Why can't we just add it the way we've always added it? And your kid looks at you and goes, Mom, that's not how we're supposed to do it. Yeah, that's what happens. So now you have to get to a point where you're getting all of that out of your system. You cannot go into homeschooling expecting it to be like public schooling. If you do, there will be conflicts, there will be tears, and then you will feel like a failure. Your kids will start to rebel, and you're going to feel like you just need to put them back in public school. If you're feeling like that right now, you're not detoxed. If you're anxious, nervous, you're not detoxed. Homeschooling should be done when everybody is in peace. So if there is ever a time where you feel not at peace, don't homeschool that day. Do something else. Take a mental health break. Nobody is stopping you. Remember, you have 365 days to get this 180 in. You're good. Take a break. Go to the store with the kids. Go window shopping. Go to the beach. We live in Savannah. It's 45 minutes from here to Tybee or to my favorite beach, Caligny in South Carolina. Like, go somewhere, you know, take a trip. In Savannah, I know people think Pooler is far, but it's not far. Just go to Tanger and walk around, do something. Stay at home and watch videos. Cuddle up under the blanket and tell your kids stories about when they were a baby. Like, don't feel that you have to do anything. This is your detox process. Detoxing is rest. You know, there are going to be some mental issues that you're going to have to, thoughts that you're going to have to combat against during detox. Like, they're not doing anything today. They're not learning. Sure they are. Sure they are. They're learning the importance of rest. They're learning to listen to their bodies and not push themselves beyond where their bodies are capable of going. Like, why is it in the United States we just feel like it's work, 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 go, 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 like all the time? What is wrong with rest? Even God rested. Teach your kids to do that. Teach your kids to be in balance, to recognize when something is not feeling right internally, to go, what's wrong? Let me talk about that. Like, that's what your kids are learning during detoxing. The whole time that you're going to be detoxing is going to feel like an emotional roller coaster. You're going to start questioning everything you've ever known. It's like the stages of grief. You're going to be angry sometimes. Like, what the heck? You're going to be depressed sometimes. You're going to not want to feel like getting out of bed. For me anyway, that was true. You're going to feel like a failure, but that's only because you've defined success according to a system that was not designed for you. So for detoxing, to be a part of your journey, we can't even discuss it, fam. We can't even discuss it. You've got to detox. You've got to rest. You've got to have conversations about what education looks like, what it needs to look like. Does it have to be that you have to build or recreate a schoolroom in your house? Do you have to put a desk in little, Jasmine's bedroom so that she can sit at a desk and do her assignments? Like, does it have to? Does it have to be that you guys are waking up every morning at the crack of dawn and doing this, this, this? Like, does it have to? And it doesn't at all. You know, um, at this point of the process, when you first come out of the public school system, you really can't trust your own mind, because it's not really based on anything that was true. It's based off of a falsehood that the school system creates, because the school system is only concerned about two things. The first thing is self-preservation, which means nobody destroys the system. Everybody in the system needs to be controlled. And the second thing is making sure the system survives. So making sure that you teach your children to follow the system and they teach their children to follow the system. Like, that's it. And this is why you're seeing school systems change from one year to a next year. They don't really know what they're doing. They're just wanting to make sure that everybody in the system is controllable and that the system survives from generation to generation. That's it. So if you create something in your home, if you immediately go out and try to buy a curriculum, and create something in your home without this detox process, you're going to find that it doesn't work. And you're going to start questioning, like, okay, why isn't this working? I'm doing the same things the public school does. I'm making them sit at a desk for 45 minutes and practice this worksheet. Why are they unhappy? Like, why am I unhappy? And that's because the school system is fatally flawed. That's why they're not happy. Why those kids are struggling and those teachers are freaking out, and everybody is worried and anxious all the time. So check your own emotions and your own feelings. Make sure you're going through the thought processes. This would be a great time to get a homeschool mentor that you can talk to. You can't just talk to anybody in your family. Unfortunately, if your family member is not detoxed, they are going to just try to keep you in the system. They're just going to try to make sure that you stay in the system because they're worried for you. Anybody who leaves the system, like, that's the big thing. You're destroying the system. Like, it's going to kind of like react in a way that makes you feel like, no, you need to stay here. If we think about it, this is the same thing that happened back on plantations whenever a slave was like, man, this is booty. I'm out. And then the other slaves would be like, don't leave. They're going to kill you. Like, stay. Like, think about the psychological programming and the similarities between that situation and this situation, and understand that I get it. They're really just concerned for you, which is why they're freaking out right now. But you have to make sure that you're doing what's right for you. And that sometimes means building in silence. Don't tell them what you've got going on. Talk to somebody who's been through the process and understands. And we do provide mentors in a new way because it's so important for you not to be alone during this time. Like, sometimes when people are detoxing, they need the help of doctors. Like, the physical, like, you will become physically sick when you're detoxing from the school system, and you won't want to get out of bed. And then you're going to feel guilty because you're not getting out of bed. Oh, I remember those days, and all I can tell you is be patient with yourself. Let it all, come out. Let the system get out of your system. Take your time. You are not in a rush anymore. Nobody is judging you. Nobody is rushing you. You are now on your own pace. So don't do anything. I know that seems counterintuitive, and somebody will say, oh, but the kids aren't going to be learning. But again, they absolutely will be learning. Remember, they don't learn every minute of every day they're in school. They're not. They're getting exposed for sure, but they're not learning. So give yourself a break. Nobody ever gets upset at the school system when they don't meet their 180 days, but you'll get upset with yourself. Give yourself a break. Don't be harder on yourself than you would be on the school system, right? So there's going to come a point, though, when your detox process will be over, and you'll feel it, and you'll notice it in your kids, because y'all will be happy, and y'all will be curious, and you'll want to learn things just because you're curious. You're going to want to do things just because they're interesting or they look like fun. You're not going to feel bad, and that's when you know your detox process is over. Then becomes your deschooling process. So you mean after you detox, you still can't do school. Like, you still cannot go buy a curriculum the day after you finish your detox and go, we're going to school today. Mm-mm. Now starts deschooling. And some people do detoxing and deschooling at the same time, so they overlap. I know that was true for me. But you still have to go through the process of deschooling. So let's talk about what that is. Deschooling is where you are teaching your children specifically to replace you. Okay? I like to call this the ancient, like, African way of educating children. And I will say this. The ancient way of educating children was so effective that Black people became Employee of the Year for 400 years. Think about that. Slaves were not taken from Africa for no reason. They were taken because they were skillful in how to grow and cultivate indigo or rice, or, work with bronze and iron. It wasn't just that we were taken because we could dig a hole. We were taken because of the knowledge that we had, right? So if we go back to that ancient system and look at it for a minute, it was not necessarily in a school building. All of the education we had was really based off of families teaching their own children, homeschooling, and apprenticing. So the child would come and follow you and see what you were doing and learn, or follow a family member. And everything that we learned was based off of family businesses. So you were a healer and everybody in your family line was a healer, or you were a priest and everybody in your family line was a priest. You were a blacksmith, an artisan, a craftsman, whatever, but everybody in your family learned the family business. So if we kind of take a time, go back, start thinking about what that looked like, start creating that during this deschooling process. I don't have to have a set schedule. I can just wake up and say, today we're going to do laundry, and I'm going to teach my kids how to do laundry. Now, in the teaching of my kids how to do laundry, it's math because they're looking at measurements. They're doing sorting. They're categorizing. That's all math. It's reading because they have to read the labels on the clothing, put them in their specific categories, read the instructions on the laundry bottle to make sure they're not using too much or too little. It's and then we might get curious. I wonder who made the first washing machine. I wonder what people used to do to clean clothes. Now that's going to take us into a history lesson, which is social studies, and a science lesson, and what is the absolute best way to wash clothes. It's going to take us into, where we follow the rabbit hole and see where it goes. That's learning. That's self-guided, child-led learning that we should be doing in homeschooling. Like, that's what it is. So I'm teaching the kids how to do laundry, but I'm using the laundry as an experience. It's not just that we're doing anything just to be done with it. We're doing it to make it an experience. And our kids are learning so much through that experience. So now I get somebody to help me do the laundry. They get the education that they need for their lives. Win-win. This can be true for teaching them how to do the dishes, taking care of the yard, planting a garden, cooking food, how to take care of the vehicle, pumping gas. I mean, everything that you do as an adult to take care of yourself in life, that's what you're teaching your child during deschooling. And not only that, but you're also educating yourself. You're reading books about, education, homeschooling. You're learning what it is that it needs to look like, what other people are doing. You're connecting with folks through Facebook groups and going online. You're doing all of those things to help form and develop and design your own perfect home study program. This is the time where we call it general education. It's wonderful because at A New Way we believe in learning zones. Okay, so from 5 to 10 years old, your children should be receiving that general education. Think deschooling. Yes, they are going to be writing sentences and learning, sentence structure and all of those things. But if you, look at other countries, they don't even begin grammar school until the child is like 10 years old, and then they graduate from school at 16. Here in the States, it's kind of different because we delay their education until they're 18 years old for no reason at all. We've got kids who are seniors right now and they only go to school for one class. What are you doing with the rest of your time? But we'll talk about that more in another video. We'll get to the point of it though is when you're educating your child, you're educating yourself, you're designing your homeschool during that detoxing time. Okay, you're exploring the different curriculums and everything that's out there, and you're going to try to find one that fits your family's needs. Not all curriculums are, costly. Some are free, and it doesn't matter what you use. If you think about it, none of these curriculums were available to our ancestors. They were not available 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, and people still learned. People still figured out how to take care of themselves and contribute to the world. So don't get so tied down with purchasing a curriculum or doing whatever. You've got to just first get into the process of trying to teach your children to replace you. Now, that doesn't mean you cannot have a schedule or a routine. You absolutely should. Especially for our younger children, they need routine and repetition and structure and order. They need that. to some degree. And you're going to need that because otherwise you're probably going to spend more days doing nothing at all than actually learning, right? And at this point, we're trying to just redevelop our child's love of learning. That's the goal. Okay. So if you don't do anything else once you have finished your detoxing program, or once you finish completing your declaration of intent, if you don't do anything else, detox and de-school. It's important. It's really, really important. Um, don't feel rushed. Don't feel pressured. Allow yourself to rest and then enjoy your children. You know, I remember the day I realized like my kids are really fun. Like they're really fun human beings. And one of the things that we find from the systemic programming is, the school system wants you to believe that they're doing you a favor by keeping your kid. So, because they're so terrible. Your kids are not terrible. If anything, they're just like you, or they're just like their dad. And that right there makes them fun. So enjoy your time, enjoy yourselves. Don't feel rushed. It's going to be okay. And remember, get a mentor if you need one, take those mental health days when you need them. It's all going to be okay. In another video, we'll talk about how you go about, starting to schedule your days and building those routines. But for now, I just hope that your journey is filled with knowledge, understanding, and wisdom.